Malaysia is well known to be one of the major Muslim countries, and it's a powerhouse on many levels, particularly in the past, probably more than right now, but it was an economic powerhouse and described as one of the Asian tigers, the economic tigers. The potential, whether it be human capacity, whether it be academia, whether is immense. And also its geopolitical location. It's strategically located in quite a crucial area in the world, and an area that, particularly now, in light of current global events, is emerging as one of the most crucial arenas where a trade war is taking place, where there's a strategic positioning of powers of all sorts. In light of this, I think it's quite important that we go back to the very beginnings of Malaysia and how it was founded, how it came to be, and what its position is on the map today, how it could influence not only its internal dynamics, but how it could be a player on the global scene, on the regional scene. So generally speaking, if introducing Malaysia, where do we start? Do we start with the British colonial power? Do we start even before then? Where do we start usually when we're telling the story of Malaysia?
Okay, I'll start first, and then Dr. L.
Sure.
Will add on.
Boleh. No problem.
I would like to start even before the colonization of Malaya by English. Well, according to history, Malaysia, or rather Malaya at that time, embraced Islam around the 15th century, 16th century. Okay? Mainly through the often repeated story is that it's through the Muslim traders. But there's also another version which mentioned that the Muslims from China came down through Cambodia, Laos, and then went on to Malaya to bring Islam.
Are we talking about the Mongols? Well,
no. This is because China embraced Islam even earlier.
Really?
Yes, even earlier.
I didn't know.
There is a grave in China dating back to the 10th century of a Muslim there being buried in China. So China had already embraced Islam few centuries before Malaya.
Amazing.
So that's one of the versions that said that most probably as well there were Chinese Muslims from China who came down to spread da'wah, came down right down to Malaya to bring Islam. Okay? So those are some of the versions. And then I would like to focus on Malacca. To keep the story short, I'd like to focus on Malacca. Malacca, the Sultanate of Malacca was Muslim, okay, and it became the center, one of the trade centers in this region. In fact, Malacca was a port, a very busy port, and we were, according to historical records, more than 80 languages were spoken in Malacca at that time. Okay. So it was a cosmopolitan
people coming
area.
From
People
all
coming
over
from
the world.
all over the world to trade, buy and sell, discuss, talk, and so on. So it was really a thriving center at the time. And also at the time we can find that the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims was very, very, very cordial and very good. In fact, the Chinese emperor sent one of his admirals to Malacca, Cheng Ho. Admiral Cheng Ho, by the way, he's a Muslim.
Wow.
Okay, he's one of the Chinese Muslims, but he was sent by the emperor to Malacca, and history told us that he brought along a Chinese princess as well, who married one of the kings of Malacca at the time, Sultan Mansur, and the name of the Chinese princess was Hang Li Po. So there was this marriage between.
This was around what?
This is
which
probably
century?
around 16th century. I would imagine around that. So that means what I'm trying to say here is that the relationship between Malaya or Malaysia now, and the world during the 15th and 16th century were already established,
Yeah.
very well established.
Yeah.
You know, there were laws established, there were shipping regulations, shipping standard operating procedures, everything was laid out during that time.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
So that means, and we were told also, this is that there was also communication between the Malacca Sultanate and the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
You know, there was letters sent between Malacca Sultanate and the Ottoman Empire. You know, in fact, according to some of the historical records, when the Portuguese attacked Malacca in the 16th century, Malacca asked for help from the Ottoman Empire. You know, but unfortunately, I think they couldn't send any reinforcements in time. But the Aceh king managed to send some people over to help the Malacca Empire going against the Portuguese, forces and so on. So they were not successful, but what it means also is that the communication between the various parties, within the region at that time was also very well established.
Yeah.
Although they don't have WhatsApp or emails and so on, but apparently they could still send messages.
What kind of impact did this have on what came after, on current Malaysia? How impactful was this history, and incredibly rich history, in terms of global relations, regional relations with China and with various countries and nations around at the time? How did this then impact Malaysia in its current form?
Maybe I can mention 3 points here. First, the spread of Islam in Malaya, in Southeast Asia, happened in the way that it is not through war, but it is through a kind of very friendly nature.
Human interaction.
Human interaction, through trade, through human interaction, through person to person, even goes up to the level of marriage and so on and so forth. So it is not happened through the war and the conquest and so on. That is number one. I think that just shaped really the nature of the people and the future relation of Malaysia as well, because how it is spread is through a very peaceful means. That's number one. And number two, we also can see the diversity and the cosmopolitanism that occurs in Malacca. A lot of people came, as like Tuan Badli mentioned just now, from all over the world. And we are actually, during that point of time, quite open to the world. And that actually shaped the global mind, I think, at that time, and including today. And we are quite open to the world until today. But to the extent, perhaps, that our openness is taken advantage, maybe, because of it too open. And the third one is that kind of interaction shaped who we are today. So even though we are a small nation, a small country, but we are contributing meaningfully to the region and also to the world.
When can we trace the arrival of the colonialists, the British particularly? This was late.
British came in. British came in the 19th century.
1860s,
1870s, with the Pangko Treaty and so on. But before that, there was the Portuguese colonization. That took place also, quite a long time, for quite some time, and then the British came, and then after that the Dutch came.
Wow.
Okay, so we have again, in terms of colonizers, also we have a rich history.
Quite a rich
history,
and impacted by.
Yeah, that's right. I would like to add on to what Dr. Muhammadi said, in the sense that what happened during those formative years of Malaysia, Malacca, and so on, it shaped also our mind towards. You see, we had this relationship with China even during that time, 15th, 16th century. So that means it's been more than 500 years of relationship with China. And China helped to protect Malacca as well from, the coming of China to Malacca also helped to protect it from the Thais, from the Siamese. Okay, so there is a mutual sort of benefit. China came here to trade. They gained some benefit from trade, but at the same time, they also helped to protect because they had a large, armada. They had a navy, a big navy, which sort of lend to the fact that Malacca also has relationship with a big power at that time. So therefore, there was this mutual benefit arising from those kind of interaction more than 500 years ago. So it's only natural that now we also have a thriving relationship with China.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the impact that it has on the geopolitical context that we have right now, because of that long years or long centuries of relationship. So therefore, and because of the strategic location, because at the time Malacca was also a strategic location because of the Straits of Malacca and so on. True. It was the trade route between east and west.
Right.
So it was strategically placed. So therefore, the impact that means now Malaysia has got the capacity to sort of balance out between the east and west. Because of the strategic location. We understand now there is the intense, coming soon probably, the intense competition, rivalry between US and China.
That's correct.
So therefore Malaysia can play a strategic role in terms of, trying to balance out between these two superpowers. We are a middle power. Okay, in Asia, we rank number 11 according to the Lowy Power Index.
Yes.
We rank number 11. So we are among the middle power nations. Singapore and Indonesia are ranked above us.
And this is of quite important strategic significance, especially at times when the major powers are in competition. Usually, it's the middle rank nations that find gaps. And it's the sort of those players that could actually have the greatest impact, while the larger poles of the world are neutralizing themselves. So it's a very, very interesting position to be at. But when, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that it was the British effectively who brought together various factions of people, tribes, and ethnicities and the like, and they formed what then became the Malay nation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when can we trace this back to? What, the late 19th century, the earlier 20th century? When did this happen? When did this take place?
Maybe late 19th century, during the colonization period. But I think what impacts us today is we can have a highly diverse society. And they stay. They don't go back. Usually when you talk about colonization, the British brought people from outside. Usually they're going to say that colonization is over, you got to leave. But here in our context, it's quite unique in the sense that we agree to let them stay and form a nation, as you said. And then we develop that, we develop the nation based on the strength and the capacity of each ethnic group, for example. So we make use of, I would say, diversity as a source of our strength. It's not as a source of the conflict, because some countries that we have seen, they also have some diversity. In the case of Sri Lanka, for example, they lock into the
this becomes a source of conflict.
Source of conflict. So as I said, we make use of diversity as a source of strength instead of the source of conflict. Even though we have some kind of disagreement, we have some problem, there are some kind of issues crop up, throughout the centuries and sort of the decades, but we managed to go through the journey together and to build a nation until today. I think that's quite a success story here.
Malaysia was known to be amongst the poorer countries back in the 60s.
Yes.
Even I would say up until the 70s.
Oh, yes.
Malaysia was ranked as a poor nation.
Yes.
But then, 80s and 90s particularly, it became, it became that kind of economic power that became renowned the world over. And now Malaysia is an industry. There are things that the West uses that are made in Malaysia, and that's truly a transformation of sorts.
That's correct. Perhaps I can add a little bit, Taji. That's the evidence or the proof that we make use of the strength of each ethnic group to develop the nation. As you can see, that 70s we were poor before, and then slowly develop and become what we are today. And not only that, we also have a good leadership, I would say. That the leadership that we developed since the beginning of the formation of the nation, they have certain wisdom that they can use to develop the nation. Yeah. And I would say this kind of thinking can be considered as a trans-political mind, I would say. Even though we have like multi-ethnic group, the idea of ethnicity or race is still deeply embedded in their mind of the society and the leaders. But the ability to transcend the political differences and also ethnicity to form a nation is a great achievement. This is the thinking that we should have today. That is the trans-political mind, so that we can develop the nation more. Yeah.
Now, just to add on to what you mentioned just now, now during the colonization, the British colonization of Malaya at the time, we were one of the largest producers of tin in the world. Tin. Okay. And or rather, I've read somewhere that actually the tin from Malaysia contributed to almost 50% of the income of Great Britain at that time. So that means, we had abundance of natural resources. Okay. Only thing that the natural resources was siphoned away by our colonizers.
As usual.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially the British colonizers.
That's right.
Yes, they're renowned for that.
That's right.
Yes.
So it makes sense that when we were given independence, given the abundance of natural resources, with the right leadership, as he mentioned, we bounced back very quickly. We were a poor nation, that's correct, in the 60s, I remember, in the 60s, the kind of living, the quality of life that we had as I was a boy during that time.
Yes.
Okay. And then when we 70s and 80s, when we latched on to, especially to palm oil, we planted palm oil in huge quantities then, together with rubber, together with tin. Okay. Then we became one of the natural resource rich nations in this region. Okay. And then we move on to industrialization. Yeah. Okay, during the time of Mahathir and so on, the 80s, 90s, 2000 and so on. Now we are known for semiconductor, one of the semiconductor centers of the world.
Correct.
Okay, so that means, but right now to build the resilience of the nation, we've got to go beyond that as well.
Yes.
We cannot just be focused only on semiconductor, but rather we also have to focus on other technology areas that we can work on. Solar energy, green energy, those kind of things, hydrogen energy, and so on. We have the expertise. We have I believe the capability as well to develop those energies. Diversify our economic activities, go for the higher value, products, and so on. Rather, in the 70s, we were mainly driven by the assembly kind of activity, economic activity. Okay, we were just assembly producers of the TVs and the radios from Japan and so on. Okay, I think you know that as well. But now we've got to become our own producers. We have to become our own manufacturers of our own indigenous products.
What role does and this might seem like an odd question, but I'm trying to understand the role of Islam in being part of the national identity. How does Islam fare in creating that kind of nation that you speak of, nation that thrives amid the diversity that it has, the racial groups and ethnic groups that it has? Where does Islam come into this, and was it seen as, or is it seen as, a positive element and a positive factor in creating, the modern thriving Malaysia, or did it have sort of a stunting role in the progression of Malaysia as a country and as a nation?
Well, I would say if we go back in history, Islam thrived in the context where diversity is present in the beginning, even in the beginning, where also we have a global engagement during that time. And then we have a nation, we have independence, and then we have a people with deeply committed to religion, to Islamic values. But the thing is, we have to develop the nation together with other people. This is where the challenge began, maybe. Yes. But this is also an opportunity to prove that even though we have our own belief, but we need another skill, I would say, or the mindset that fine, we have differences of that belief, of that ethnicity and so on. But how can we leverage on the strength of each other to develop the nation? So we have this value of mutual respectability, the ability to respect each other's differences. And we try to work on something that we can do together, not on the differences. So I think this is where we
remind me of the example of Andalusia, southern Spain, and how it was that Islam and Muslims that emerged from North Africa and from the Arabian Peninsula, essentially in Sham. It was the Umayyads who crossed over to Andalusia first and foremost, and how they managed at a certain period to motivate Islam as a factor to unite people in order to create one of the greatest civilizations that the West has seen. I mean, till now, when you go around Europe to explore its history, Andalusia remains one of the most visited and most revered legacies of a bygone civilization. And that was created as a result of the fact, and we read how the Muslim Khalifa would have a Jewish minister of finance and a Christian minister of interior, and people thrived until now. That golden century, and they call it the golden century, where people and communities, civilized, beliefs, they thrived working together, living side by side.
Islam shaped the culture actually of the people. You see, when Islam entered Malaya at that time, in the 15th, 16th century and so on. Before that, we were Hindus.
Yes.
You see, the religion of our ancestors was Hinduism. All right. But then when Islam entered into the community, it shaped the culture to such an extent that we become more productive, we become more open to other societies. We build upon the communities, we build legacies, we build the thriving relationship between the various sects, various ethnicities, the minorities, all were respected. Because in Islam, that's what we were taught.
Islam encourages.
It's right.
The thing that we notice in more than one place that we could cite the example of is that Islam was cultivated in order to suit the interests of certain rulers or certain authorities. So in a way, Islam became a hindrance. Islam, not in its pure form. The Islam that was employed became a hindrance, and it became an access towards authoritarianism to an extent, and also internal division. From what you're saying, that wasn't the case in Malaysia, and Islam remained a positive force. So let's jump a little bit to the modern times. And I'd like to know more or less about the modern, what we call the Islamic movement. And particularly that this Islamic movement was impacted by various movements in the Middle East, and particularly the Ikhwan. The Ikhwan, what kind of impact happened? How did that interaction take place? I mean, just to give you an example, in the country where I come from originally, in Iraq, it was because certain ulama, they went and studied in Al-Azhar universities. And whilst they were in Cairo, they came across Hassan al-Banna, and they came across other founders of the modern Islamic movement. And when they returned, they carried the message. And that's essentially how the modern Islamic movement in Iraq was found. And I'm guessing that was how it was found and transferred to in many other countries. What's the story of the Islamic movement in Malaysia?
Pretty much the same as well. Pretty much the same.
Around what time?
This was probably around 60s,
Right.
70s,
Okay.
and so on. So that means we cannot deny the fact that the Ikhwan or the Muslim Brotherhood had a very big impact
Yes.
on the Islamic world. Okay, the messages that it brings actually were messages that rejuvenated the Ummah. You know,
Yes.
messages of unity, messages of reviving the Muslim Ummah from, we must remember during the time of the emergence of the Muslim Brotherhood. That time it was the whole, probably most majority of the Muslim world was colonized.
Correct.
Okay, and then so it brought the message of trying to seek independence from colonialism, the independence to seek our own destiny, forge our own future, and so on. So those kind of messages resonate with the people, especially of the Muslim world. So therefore, when even from Malaysia, those who went to study in Egypt, those who went to study in the UK or the various Western countries, when they come into contact with some of the activists of the Islamic movement, and they resonate with these messages, when they return, they bring back and they form this kind of Islamic movements in Malaysia as well. So, but then I would like to say that when they return, they do not form only one. Of course, there'll be various organizations and so on. But basically, the spirit is the same. The message they bring is the same. So therefore, there is a lot of potential for alliances, collaboration, and so on, because we believe in the same message and believe in the same mission and vision of the future.
What did that message feed in order to create the modern Malaysian society? What element did it enrich? What was it?
It enriched the values, the values within the society. So I remember kan dulu penerapan nilai-nilai Islam kan.
Yeah.
The infusion of Islamic. There was a campaign
Yes.
in the
Islamic
70s.
values.
Yeah, infusion of Islamic values. In Malay, it's called penerapan nilai-nilai Islam. Okay, so it was an immense campaign. I remember those asatizah, those who had the Islamic knowledge, trained in the deen sciences and so on. They went all over the country, to talk about the awakening of Islam, awakening of the Islamic mind, the Islamic values, and also the Islamic character, the akhlaq and so on. So it was that spread. And if you see Malaysia in the 60s and 70s, there were not many women who wears the hijab. Yeah, But in the late 70s and 80s, yes, you can see the movement of women donning hijab without any feeling of any shame or something like that. And they were proud. They were proud to don the hijab because this is something which is obligatory upon them, as mentioned in the Quran. So people feel proud to be associated with Islam. Okay. But then, of course, if we go further on now into the present day context, of course there will be some, even though it started off well in the 70s, but now it has given rise to some elements of extremism in thinking as well. Among the Islamic activists and so on. So we are back to the stage whereby
Was this because of what's happened around the world, particularly, for instance, 9/11? Was it the Afghanistan war of the 80s? What was it?
there are multiple factors, Dr. Anas. Multiple factors among the 9/11 Islamophobia.
Yeah.
And also the exclusive mindset of some of the Muslims, thinking that Islam is only owned by them, not to be owned by
And
anybody
it's an exclusive club. Not
It's an exclusive club. That's right. Holier than thou kind of attitude and so on. So this give rise to that kind of. So we are in the situation now where we have to correct the understanding of the society towards this. Islam actually is a rahmah. Inna asarna wa ma arsalna ka illa rahmatan lil alamin. That the Prophet was sent as a mercy, a rahmah to all of mankind, to all of nations, to all of the alam. So therefore, this message has got to ring out again, so that people will understand, cultivate this message, and so therefore we try to build society as Dr. Muhammad has mentioned just now, the diverse society in which everybody thrives together. That's the message we are trying to bring now. Everybody has got a contribution to make Malaysia great, to make Malaysia, one of the foremost nations in the world, but it needs the contribution of everybody, Muslim and non-Muslims alike.
True.
This is where our strength comes from.
Tell me about the academic scene. I mean, Malaysia over the course of the past 30, 40 years has become one of the basis for academia, whether it be Islamic studies or whether it be, humanitarian, human sciences and the like, whether it be the International Islamic University, whether it be various other academies, that students flock from all over the world in order to join and to graduate from. How was this seen as part and parcel of the Islamic identity of Malaysia? How did this enrich the Islamic element of Malaysia as a nation and being Malay as an individual?
It's very, very interesting observation, Dr. Anas. But before I go to that, I just want to take up a little bit from Tuan Haji mentioned just now about how Islam spread here and then the role of the Islamic movement and so on. As we can see, historically, the Islamic values has been accepted by the people. And then whenever we have Islamic movement coming from the outside, for example, Ikhwan al-Muslimin, among the earliest created after 1920s, and then we have people study overseas and coming back here. Now we have people who already have this idea of Islamicity, Islamic values, and we have a group of people who try to promote this idea in the practical, more modern way of practicing Islam. Definitely, there would be a massive receptivity to Islam is getting more, and then we also have, meaning that what we can see here is that is a bottom-up type of Islam, but at the same time we also have the top-down approach of how Islam being disseminated through the infusion of Islamic values by the government. During Mahathir's time, for example, there is a massive Islamization through institution. The creation of JAKIM, the creation of the religious department at the Prime Minister's office, and Islamic banking, Islamic universities. And this is how it connected with your question just now. So you can see here that top-down approach, bottom-up approach is actually being practiced here, meaning that it is not just it's coming from the top, we have to follow and create resistance. But it's a kind of working together there is a synergy here.
Excellent.
And so this is how it spread. And then we can create more or less, I would say, a rational, balanced nation in the sense that we are living together, a peaceful coexistence with other nations, with other people of different faith, but at the same time we live comfortably with our own values. And then, of course, there are some people also who believe in extremism, who believe in certain extremist ideology. And if you look at the history of the Islamic movement, it is not just one monolithic group.
Yeah.
There is a multiple type of that. Even Ikhwan Muslimin itself.
Yes,
It is
absolutely.
a multiple.
It espoused many schools, many
Exactly.
so orientations and the like. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So they go through education, humanitarian work, they go through jihad. But the message is the same. The message is that since the downfall of the Ottoman, there is no caliphate. And we are Muslim Ummah, we're in the state of disarray. We have to get together and then we have to organize ourselves.
Yeah.
And they organize through education, they organize through welfare, they organize through various means. But this is where it goes wrong whenever there is a group of people who says, look, we have tried everything.
Yeah.
We have tried education.
Yes.
We have tried welfare. We have tried this, we have tried that, but the problems persist. Maybe we forgot one thing. If I use the word by Awlaki,
Yes.
Anwar al-Awlaki is very famous. He was killed actually. He said that we have forgotten the fiqhul izzah,
Yeah.
which he refers to the jihad fi sabilillah.
Yes.
And then of course,
Jihad fi sabilillah in only one format.
That's right.
exactly.
Yes.
And that is by the use of force.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
the narrow format.
Yeah.
the narrow way of interpreting
Yeah,
jihad,
yeah.
that is fighting through violence and so on. And that happened because of some pressures
Yeah.
in the locality. For example, we talk about in the situation in Palestine, the situation in Afghanistan and so on. People are fighting back because
Yeah.
of some kind of political injustice. And I would say terrorism is rooted in injustices. You know, human beings, they have built-in values, the sense of justice.
Yes.
Whenever the sense of injustice or sense of justice is disturbed, is violated, they would fight back.
Correct.
They would react. That's where,
Correct.
I mean, every time we have a khutbah Jum'ah, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan.
Yes.
And we have to think about why is that the adli wal ihsan is very, very important in human life. That is because once this value is violated, there would be a backlash, there would be a reaction. And I think that's why it's happened. And then they make use of Islamic Quranic verses to justify it, to justify the act of violence, for example. So I think we have to look at very, very deeply on this matter and solve it according to our own way. But again, you raised the role of academia.
Yes.
Now we have Islamic movement, and we have also like Muslim scholars who say that beside Islamic movement, which is good, we also need to have this educational approach.
Correct.
Because there is a Quranic mention that whenever everybody goes to war, يَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ وَلْيَنْظُرُوا. I mean, there is a group of people who are dedicated themselves to education.
To education. To knowledge.
To knowledge.
Yes.
And then we have this, for example, International Islamic University, dedicated to this kind of works. We combine because, you know, as Tuan Haji mentioned, some studies in Egypt, some studies in the States, in the UK. They came back to Malaysia with their own way of thinking.
Yeah.
Those people come back from the Egypt, they understand the Torah very well, but they cannot communicate in English.
Correct.
Then we have people who are educated in the West, in the state, in the UK, in Australia, and so on. They are very well versed and they can communicate well, but they do not have the Torah. Now, what UIA is trying to do is to bring these things stream back together, and we try to teach Islam through the using English Islam, I would say, meaning that to try to use a certain English vocabulary to explain about Islam. And we have this Islamization of knowledge, Islamization movement, and so on. So this is one of the attempts. Therefore, because of that, in the 80s, I think the Islamization of knowledge started. Then the Muslim world look at this something new, and they start coming to Malaysia.
And since then, tens of thousands of scholars, hundreds of thousands possibly, have graduated and come through Malaysian institutions, whether it be the Islamic University or any others. Because interestingly, you mentioned the issue of the English usage of, you know, in order to deliver and to convey knowledge. And here we're not just talking about a language, we're talking about a culture and a mindset. So basically the graduates of these institutions, they became capable of speaking to audiences around the world.
Exactly.
And that in itself is something which I find quite fascinating.
Exactly, and we can see, as you said, now the Islamization of knowledge project or the establishment of IUM, for example, has been, we are entering to 40th years. And we have a graduate, of course. Meaning that we talk about human being, we talk about the age of maturity, right? Coming to the 40th years. So we have graduate who are serving in various capacities in societies.
True.
And I think because of the sincerity of its founders,
No.
I think the plan works. We have a good graduate around the world. I mean, all over the continent,
Correct.
in the Arab world, in the African countries, in Europe. And we have many graduates who goes around the world and speaking about Rahmatul lil Alamin.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Exactly.
So this is very important work.
Ustad, tell us about, well, I'd like to hear from you, but I'd like to touch on Ikram. I'd like to talk about Ikram, when it was founded, what are the basis of Ikram, what are the objectives, what's the vision, what's your role in society? But please, do go ahead.
Okay. Ikram's vision for Malaysia is that for Malaysia to become a Rahmah nation.
Excellent.
We call it Negara Rahmah.
Excellent.
Now, that in itself also tells us that actually we are thinking more about the nation rather than ourselves. I mean, usually if we talk about organizations, their vision is to become a premier organization,
Correct.
number one organization,
Correct.
the foremost organization, and
Yes.
so on. Well, when we talk about vision, we talk about the nation.
Excellent.
Nation to become a Rahmah nation. What we mean by Rahmah nation is that a nation that is progressive, a nation that is just, a nation whereby the people feel that they are being protected, that they have a life that would make them happy on the earth, and also that economically and politically and so on, we are advanced. Okay, so that kind of nation, progressive and moderate, and also be able to have a united front together with the non-Muslims. This is what we meant by a Rahmah nation. Of course, based upon the principles of Quran and Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that one is the main source on which we refer to. So that is our vision, and then we come together. Actually, we are also from diverse backgrounds. There are asatiza from Egypt, and also from engineers from UK, America, Australia, and so on, together with also people from Malaysia itself. We come together to form because we believe in the same vision.
Correct.
Okay, and our mission is to make a prosperous and progressive nation based on 4 pillars. One is tarbiyah, second is dakwah, third is kebajikan, charity, charity. Fourth is islah. That means to
Reform.
reform. To reform. So these are the 4 pillars on which we base our mission upon.
Very good.
And we galvanize our members, to act upon this mission. And alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually we formed Ikram in 2010. So before that we were, we had already operated in various organizations.
Yes.
And then Ikram was the culmination and also the consolidation of all these organizations coming together. So we have had education part. We have had now 64 schools, in the whole of the country, from Perlis right up to Sabah. Okay. And we have also graduated more than 300,000 students of alumni from our schools. Okay. And then we have our that is education institution. Then we have our charitable institution as well, My Care, Yayasan Ikram, and so on, which does work for the underprivileged or those people who need help and so on. So we have done that for many, many years, and that's been recognized by the government and also internationally. And for da'wah, we have a Hidayah Center that does da'wah among the non-Muslims. And we have our biggest center is in Sabah, where there are a number of non-Muslims that enter, alhamdulillah, profess Islam. But we are also trying to, for the non-Muslims, we need also to be together with them, to do projects together, and then they will see the beauty of Islam and so on. You cannot just go to the non-Muslims and then tell them, oh, Islam is like this, Islam is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
No, we have to do things together with them,
Correct.
seek solutions.
Correct. Correct.
So this is one
Correct.
point that I would like to deliberate upon.
And dare I ask about the relationship with various governments? I mean, since
Yeah,
you're Sham.
that's right. So that's why the
Because
collaboration.
where I come from,
Yeah.
usually the relationship is tenuous.
Yeah.
It's problematic to say the
Yeah.
very least.
Here we have to, because we are trying to seek solutions.
Yes.
We cannot be sloganizing Islam is the solution for
Of
everything. No, we cannot play with rhetorics anymore. You have to seek solutions. Last year, for example, just to share with you, we had a 10-month pilot scale study on how to eradicate urban poverty. We did research on multidimensional poverty index.
Fantastic.
We improve upon it. We added more indicators. I think 9 indicators to the existing multidimensional poverty index, and we tested this upon a community in Kuala Lumpur for 10 months. And alhamdulillah, there were some positive outcomes, but that was a pilot scale study. We would like to scale up this to a bigger study, because after all, we find that one of the problems, despite us having Islamic banking, Islamic finance, and so on, the gap between rich and poor is getting even more worse off, getting even more bigger. We have to address this.
Yes.
We have to find solutions to
And
this.
by the way, these social issues or economic challenges, they impact that element of extreme tendency.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
They
Yes,
give them
definitely.
power. They give them succor in order to expand, to recruit more supporters, and to go on about how they think Islam should be demonstrated.
Yeah, but I would like to add another point is that we like to seek collaboration with other organizations as well. Because we cannot do this alone.
Yeah.
We cannot do it alone, and therefore, with WADA, with ABIM, with Haluan, and so on, we form this coalition called HIKAM.
Okay.
Just about 1 year, one and a half years ago, but now we are consolidating it. We're trying to find projects which we can do together.
Excellent.
And alhamdulillah, we've had very good discussions on Palestine, on the seeking solutions,
Very good.
education, and so on. Trying to work together because we have strengths. Each of us have got their own strengths.
Yes, true.
You know?
True, absolutely.
We cannot be saying, okay, well, I'm better than you, you're better than me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, we should see that we have strength and we should work together for the benefit of the nation, for the good of the nation. This is what we need now in this particular, and not only in Malaysia but also in ASEAN, in Asia Pacific, in the world as well.
Yes.
We need to come together. You were talking to me just now. You had this global alliance for Palestine and so on. Yeah, that's what we should be doing now, leveraging on our own strength, our own resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about WADA. What is this? When was it born?
Well, WADA is one of the Islamic movement, or what we call this, Islamic movement that, we have been in the beginning for the young people under 40 years old, but after they have this exceed 40 years old, then they can join WADA as one of the continuity to contribute meaningfully to the society. But I would say, if I may describe the history of Islamic movement here in Malaysia, we have a unique history and also position, especially in relations with the rulers or with the authorities in the country. And the way we do things here, as Tuan Haji mentioned just now, is that we work together. We work together in society to solve problems. And putting in context, and maybe the experience in other countries is different. For example, in the Middle East and in the West and so on, they have a different experience. But in our context, we try to find the ways, number one, to work together, and number two, if there is a problem that we have to solve together, we work together. We don't actually using a violent means of solving the problem. And I think that's the reason why I think whenever we talk about Islamic movement or political Islam, we have to speak in context. Because people might be afraid of the term, especially political Islam or the Islamic movement. What is this? Especially in the West.
It's being totally demonized.
It's totally demonized. And I think that's what impact our activity in the region, especially the geopolitical change and so on. And if we look at here in our context, we do it very well, especially with other faith. And there is a the positive contribution, the positive outcome from that collaboration. And I think now in the process of deepening the collaboration, I think this is why Hikam, I think it is created.
Yes. Well, okay, Yani, I don't think that I'll be telling you anything you don't know when I say that now the entire world, Malaysia included, is now living in the world led by Trump.
Yeah.
And as a result, there is chaos looming. There is, the destabilization of many norms of geopolitics, of strategic elements and the like of the past. The world is approaching a time of chaos. The fact is, I mean, whether it be in terms of the Ukraine-Russia war, whether it be the Gaza, of course, Gaza, and how the West is dealing with that, whether it be the various conflicts that are either ongoing or that are about to emerge. Sudan, we have Syria, we have, whatever's going to happen in Taiwan and the China Sea. So amid all of this, how do you see, firstly, Malaysia as a country and as a nation, amid all of this? What do you see that the looming challenges are? And also, what is the role of organizations, NGOs? Of course, you're NGOs. I know the limitations of NGOs. But what are the potential impact that NGOs can play in order to address, at least to solidify the sense of stability within Malaysia?
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. Actually, within this chaos or uncertainty in the global context, I think there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a great opportunity to reshape the world order, to shift the world order, and also to create a values-driven society. Okay, within what's happening now, there is a great opportunity because it also opens up for the fact that now we can, as all of us know, that the countries all over the world now, they're trying to seek new leadership. They're diversifying their markets away from the US.
Yeah.
US is no longer a trusted and reliable partner.
Yeah.
But rather, I mean, who would have imagined that, that US wants to annex Canada?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Greenland.
Greenland,
change the
Panama.
Bay of Panama.
Yeah, that's right. And so on. Who would imagine? You see, but it's happening now. The first time he spoke he spoke about it, maybe people treat it like a joke.
Exactly.
But when he spoke about it a couple of times, it's no longer a joke.
True.
So therefore, and so this is a great opportunity now in for the world to forge new alliances. But in this context as well, we need to build resilience.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is where when you mention about the role of the Islamic movements in our context now, this present context of chaos and uncertainty, is for us to contribute towards building the resilience of our nation and also the global community as a whole. Resilience meaning in the sense that we have to, not rely much more upon say America to provide any kind of education opportunities or something like that, but rather for us to create those opportunities ourselves. Right. And we have the capacity, we have the endeavor, and we have the motivation to do it. So let's do it together. So therefore, this now in Ikram, for example, we have Ikram Academia. Okay? Then we are talking also with other partners. How can we develop technology? Yes. Indigenous technology, for example. We have PhDs coming back from the West, from the East, on AI, on lots of things. Of course, the universities are there to help and so on. But there needs to be a direction, and I think the Islamic organizations or movements can provide that direction, and working hand in hand with the government as well to do this. This can be some sort of like government NGO partnership, in order to advance this kind of broadening the resilience
Yes.
of the nation.
Yes.
So that means it's not just the government trying to think for it for themselves, but they can get also advice, inputs, and also contributions from the NGOs. As you said correctly, NGOs has got limitations, but nonetheless we have the potential. Potential is there. So if we can collaborate with the government on this kind of issues, I think there will be great potential for Malaysia to develop itself within the region. Asia Pacific is now the chairman of ASEAN anyway, for 2025.
Correct.
And it's building. I think the Prime Minister is heading in the right direction, trying to build regional prosperity, solidarity, especially in addressing the tariff war, calling for solidarity, not for tit for tat, or it's now using strategic wisdom to address these issues. Instead of just so it's calling for restraint instead of confrontation, which I think is a right move.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, within the current
especially
context.
amid the war, where 100%, no 120%, no
right.
140%,
Yeah, that's right.
and it carries on.
It's moving, it's changing all the time. Although Malaysia is in a better position than say some of the nations in ASEAN, like for example Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and so on, they've got a blanket 46% tariff. In Malaysia, 67% of the semiconductor products are exempted.
Wow.
Okay, and only 1% of the palm oil products are affected. But we have also other industries, textiles, furniture, and so on, which are greatly impacted by the tariff. So therefore, that's why we need to build that resilience.
Absolutely.
From nation, diversify our economic activities, diversify our relationships. So that means we don't want to be in a position whereby we have to choose either US or China. We don't want that. We have to be independent.
Very good.
We have to be independent, and then dependent on our own strength, our own.
Absolutely.
I would comment on that a little bit. A lot of people were talking negatively about Trump, which is rightly so, I would say, because he tried to disrupt the things. Okay, Trump is, if you look at in the very big picture, he is the product of time. Trump is a product of time, and he grew up seeing things that happen in the history of American foreign policy and domestic policies and so on. So he saw this as a businessman. He saw things done in the Middle East and all over the world, and he was commenting openly about that. There is no secret about his grievances, why we have to be in Afghanistan, why we have to be in Iraq. And he went over to Iraq and say, can you solve this problem? Yeah, we can solve the problem within one week. But he said that his generals say that it's not going to happen. He said that it can happen. And he said that, okay, I'm done. We have to close up this one and close up that one. So I would say he's a product of time. And number two, he is not a conventional politician. He is a businessman. He sees things differently. He got his own worldview. He got his own perspective.
Which could be a good thing.
It could be.
It could be a good thing. It could. I don't know how, but it could be a good thing.
That's the second thing.
No, but you're absolutely right. This is to the damnation of conventional politics.
Exactly.
Because they failed us.
Exactly.
We've been failed.
Exactly.
And so maybe now the world needs something else.
That's right.
Maybe.
Exactly. I think that's what is happening right now, because Trump got so fed up with the previous politician. He said that you guys change this, change that, Republican, Democrat, but nothing changed. Nothing changed in Iraq. Nothing changed in Afghanistan. He said, I'm going to change this. And that's lead to the number three. Trump tried to reformulate American foreign policy. I was thinking, like, when he was talking about tariff, he's not seriously talking about tariff. He was just want to, okay, I'm going to reshuffle everything else here. Because, everything looked the same to me. And when I come here, I'm going to change here, I'm going to change that. Just like he went over to the Oval Office, he said that, okay, take this out.
Change the sofa, change the
carpets,
sofa,
change and everything. Well, finally, I would say everything will settle down. This is where the role of resilience, as you said. I think people were shocked because it is not normal. But we are living in the post-normal times. Everything must be cannot be as normal as usual. So Trump trying to do that, and I think we got to stay alive. We got to survive this one. And I think this is the best for us. whether we'll be able to survive. And I think the idea of resilience is a wonderful idea. And I think in this context, the role of Islamic movement or civil society is a very important in providing right guidance and also advice to the governments.
Yes.
And I think this is where the group like Ikram, WADA and other Islamic movement providing a right, or I would say, when we are facing this kind of situation, for example, we're going to have two camps. One is optimistic group of people who say that, no, don't worry, everything will be fine. The other one is pessimistic. But I think we need to have a third camp that is judicious optimism. We have to be optimistic. We have to be like, we have to stay, survive. We have to continue doing what we are doing, but judiciously. Wise wisdom is very important. And I think sometimes this kind of thing coming from outside. Whenever we are, for example, being in the position of power, you cannot see everything. We need somebody else from the outside. And I think this is where Al-Ghazali mentioned, everybody needs to play a role. Yeah, that's why he classifies siyasah into 4 categories. Siyasatul Rasul, for the Prophet. Siyasatul Ulama, that is for the scholars. Yeah, he has his own role. Siyasatul Al-U'as, Siyasatul Salatin, the second one. I mean, the ruler, the one who ruled the country. And Siyasatul Ulama, and Siyasatul Wa'as. The Wa'as one is for the civil society, Islamic movement, providing a right advice so that we can have the ship steer on the right direction. And I think we have to play the role. And I think that's the role that we have to play right now. And I think in the context of Malaysia, we don't go for confrontation. We go for let us talk and let us have a discussion. We don't react. We don't suddenly like calm down everything. Try to see and how can we move forward. But I think that is the most important thing that we do.
Very good. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you so much. Wallahi, mashallah. Beautiful discussion.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much.